Hey, good day to you. Welcome to RFD today. I'm Rita Frazier. It is Earth Day. DeLoss Yankee on site at the Illinois Department of Agriculture State Fairgrounds. A huge day. DeLoss will be back in just a couple of minutes with a couple of reports from the State Fairgrounds and what's going on there in Springfield today to really commemorate Earth Day 2019. We'll check in the field today with David Shaw. David farms in Fayette County and about 15 miles south of Vandalia. He'll tell us what things are looking like there. And a call to action today for the Illinois Farm Bureau. DeLoss had a conversation with Kevin Simlow. Kevin will be along shortly with the details. This is RFD Today.
Mrs. Clark, who has lived on this very block most of her 80 years, often seen walking to town or serving brownies to the neighborhood kids, and everyone loves her. 2 years ago, a certain family member moved in to look after Mrs. Clark, and that's when everything changed. Mrs. Clark became the victim of elder abuse.
Elder abuse is often closer to home than you think or want to believe. We're Gruff, the crime dog here. The National Crime Prevention Council wants you to know the signs of elder abuse. Bruises, isolation, reduced activities, poor hygiene, depression, and financial problems. Protect yourself and speak out if you recognize signs of abuse in others.
Elder abuse is a crime that affects over 2 million senior citizens every year. Even more astounding, it's most commonly committed by a family member or someone they trusted. If you suspect abuse, contact your local law enforcement agency. To learn more, go to ncpc.org/seniors. That's ncpc.org/seniors. A message from the National Crime Prevention Council and the U.S. Department of Justice.
Time to check in with a Farm Week crop watcher as we start this week, April 22nd, 2019. David Shaw is in Fayette County. David, how do things look after a sunshiny Easter weekend?
Well, like I said, we had a nice weekend. Our soils are still pretty saturated here. We just need several days like yesterday to dry things out. We've had pretty close to 4 inches of rain here since the 1st of April.
Ouch. So have you been able to do anything?
No, there's been just a little bit of burned down spraying going on. Not very much. So it's been hit and miss, and that's basically been it.
Now, kind of tell us about where your farm lies in the county.
I'm actually in the southeast part of Fayette County. I'm pretty close to the Marion County line. I'm about 15 miles southeast of Vandalia.
Okay. So I know about where that is. So have your neighbors been able to do anything yet either, or are you kind of all in the same boat, so to speak?
No, there's been, in the northern part of the county, there's been a little bit of work done before the last rain event. I know they've put on just a little bit of anhydrous and done a little bit of tillage work up there, and there might be just a little bit of corn planted, but I know they got more rain in the northern part of county this last go around than what we had. But there's just not too much done in the county period.
So how do you go through this week? You have an agenda, kind of what's on your agenda? What's your workload look like this week?
Well, I'm thinking that if we can hold on to the sunshine and get a few days of wind, that maybe things will break loose just a little bit and maybe get some spraying done if nothing else. But like I said, if we can get a few days sunshine, maybe we'll be able to pick some fields and go. And do you feel like when Mother Nature allows you to do that, are you all set otherwise? You got all the seed you need and all your plans in order? Yes. Seeds all bought, chemicals all bought, anhydrous is all bought. Pretty well geared up, just ready to get stuff rolling and get it in the ground. Mm-hmm. So I guess just kind of one more thing, and that just would be, is there anything that you're going to be doing different this year compared to last year after what we went through? No, basically not. Probably just pretty well stick to the plan. What I always do. There is going to have to be a little dirt work done. We had some rains back in February where we still had some frost in the ground and got some got some heavier rains, and it made some gullies in some of the fields. So there is going to have to be a little dirt work done.
Welcome back to RFD today on a Monday on Earth Day. We're at the Department of Agriculture on the State Fairgrounds. Lindsay Ramsey is here, Illinois Farm Bureau's Assistant Director of Natural and Environmental Resources. Happy Earth Day to you.
Happy Earth Day.
Why are we down here at the State Fairgrounds? What's going on?
Well, we decided to celebrate Earth Day this year by unveiling an action plan for agriculture for the monarch butterfly and other pollinators. If you followed along at all in what we've been up to, we've been working on pollinator conservation planning for 2.5 years, and specifically for the monarch butterfly, but actually broader than that too for other pollinators that are beneficial to our food system. And we wanted to show what farmers are doing for pollinators, but we also needed to identify some places where we can improve what we're doing and articulate that. And we have completed the report. A whole host of ag groups have been working together on this. We completed the report, and we thought, let's unveil it here on Earth Day, which is very symbolic. We wanted to show every day is Earth Day on the farm, and farmers in the ag industry have to take care of our natural resources. And so we're unveiling our plan. We are standing in front of some new pollinator habitat here at the fairgrounds. The Department of Ag is going to be putting in some more pollinator plots across the fairground over the next 3 years, so they're kicking that off today as well. So great synergy, and everybody's out. It's a beautiful day. We're excited to be here.
One of the things that is intriguing to me about this, there are a lot of people that collaborated, and, the project was one thing, but the actual pollinator habitat doesn't have to be immaculate, or it doesn't have to be even huge for that matter. What we're standing by here with some of the milkweeds, it's just a space in a corner, essentially. Exactly.
I think that there's very big things that we can do, and there's very small things too. And it's going to take everybody doing a little bit to help bring pollinator populations back up and sustain them for the long term. But we're talking about putting in habitat. You can do it on your farm. You can do it outside of your office. You can have some potted plants on your back porch. It's a spectrum there of what you can do. But we're also talking about things like education and outreach, thinking about pesticide application. We're thinking about research that needs to be done to help farmers answer the best ways to go about doing some of these things on the farm. So it's a really holistic view of kind of what we need to do in the next 20 years.
The voluntary is an important word in that. And you said 20 years. You don't just bring back a population overnight. This is something that is going to take a lot of effort, and it's a statewide effort, and it's certainly a Corn Belt effort at the same time.
Definitely, yeah. We're just part of the puzzle, so a lot of other states and the region are working on these 20-year plans for pollinators, and the idea is that pollinator populations are going to fluctuate drastically. So if you've seen a chart of the monarch population, it goes up and it goes down, and the idea is not to have it increase every year, but the idea is to bring that baseline to a sustainable level so that when it does drop, it's still a sustainable population. That takes us, that takes Mexico, that takes Canada, all working together. But the states really in the Corn Belt are stepping up. They're putting out these plans to say, here's what we're going to do, and this is our part of that. Yeah,
so much is out of control, but what is within control, then there are things that can easily be done. So you talked about these groups. This is a lot of collaboration to put this sort of thing together.
It really is. We tried to form a subcommittee a couple years ago that really encompassed agriculture in Illinois. So we've got folks like Illinois Farm Bureau, obviously, the Farm Service Agency, the Department of Agriculture here in Illinois, Illinois Corn Growers, the Soybean Association, the Beef Association, pork producers, soil and water conservation districts, the Natural Resources Conservation Service, the Fertilizer and Chemical Association, Growmark, Waterborne Environmental, the Natural History Survey, Ag in the Classroom, and Fish and Wildlife Service. And that is just really on the ag side. We also have other partners obviously involved in other sectors. A couple of others that will be here today are Pheasants Forever, who they work with farmers a lot to do really great habitat work. And IDOT is also going to be here today. They're doing a lot of stuff on the rights-of-ways that you may have noticed. So they're going to be here celebrating with us today as well.
Yeah, it's interesting how this can, this can groundswell. You mentioned right-of-ways. Just thinking about areas where, we could just put a pollinator habitat over here. It could just be on the farm, or it could be, at the house. It doesn't have to necessarily be in the middle of the country either to do this sort of thing. It's just if someone has a question, how would I even get started on this sort of thing? I like butterflies, and I want to help with pollinators, and how do I go about doing that? And hopefully it's not too hard to do just for an individual or for a group to do.
Exactly. Yeah, the idea is not that it's a big drastic change. Even for farmers, one of the things we're working on for summer is just guidance around mowing. You don't even have to put seeds in the ground to help some of these pollinator species. So can we change the way that farmers and rural folks mow the rights of ways or their roadsides, or even just around the farmstead? Can we tweak the way that they think about that such that the dandelions can come up in the spring and the milkweed can stay in the fall, and it really is supporting a variety of pollinators throughout the year.
Thanks so much, Lindsay. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Beautiful day for it, too, as it turns out. Sunny and a little crisp, but a great day, and we'll have a great turnout here at the State Fairgrounds as we do a groundbreaking ceremony for a new pollinator habitat here at the Illinois Department of Agriculture. Lindsay Ramsey, Assistant Director of Illinois Farm Bureau's Natural and Environmental Resources. Stay tuned. We'll have more to come on a Monday RFD Today.
With this week's edition of Farm Week, the early word, here's DeLaw Schonke.
While persistent rainfall continued to keep farmers from planting crops, weather forecasters see a warmer, drier stretch beginning the end of April. Find out more about potential weather changes in the latest edition of Farm Week. German farmers share the same consumer education issues Illinois farmers face. That was one of many lessons learned by a group of Illinois farmers who participated in the Transatlantic Agricultural Dialogue Tour to Germany. Turn to Farm Week to learn more about their experience.
No other Farm Weekly in Illinois has as many people on the ground in Illinois covering Illinois agriculture for you, with the depth on key issues to help keep you profitable. And don't forget, you can get daily or even more frequent updates online anytime at farmweeknow.com.
RFD Radio Network's Rita Frazier connects rural routes for you. Rita delivers passion and reliable information to listeners on the RFD Radio Network. Her radio career spans close to 3 decades. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I grew up on a small farm. My job today allows me to connect with people from all walks of life and experience opportunity every day. I get to talk about what I love, farming.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
It's where your home is built, your landscape is planted, and your children play. Land is all around us, so Illinois farmers have dedicated years to learning how to best care for it. Today, we're bridging modern knowledge with resources from Mother Nature to promote natural soil activity and choosing crops that enhance soil health. To learn more about conservation efforts, visit ilfarmersconserve.com. Preserving our water, protecting our land, providing our food.
This message brought to you by Illinois Farm Bureau.
Look up, look down, look around, look up, look down, look around. In the trees and on the ground, 'cause the ALB must be found.
If you're hearing this, you should be concerned about the Asian longhorn beetle, an invasive species that's destroying our trees. But you can help. Look for the signs and help stop the beetle.
Look up, look down, look around, look up, look down, look around. In the trees and on the ground, 'cause the ALB must be found.
Some signs of the ALB are dime-sized holes on tree trunks, a sawdust-like material called frass, and the beetle itself, with a long black body and white spots.
Look up, look down, look around, look up, look down, look around. In the trees and on the ground, 'cause the ALB must be found.
Learn all the signs and how to report them at AsianLonghornedBeetle.com. That's AsianLonghornedBeetle.com.
Welcome back. We're in Springfield on Earth Day. I'm DeLoss Yankee with Chuck Spencer, Executive Director of Government Relations for Growmark. We're down here for a pollinator event, groundbreaking for a new pollinator habitat on the state fairgrounds right by the Department of Agriculture building. Government Relations. So who knew that the little butterfly would be, in some cases, a central part of governmental relations?
Butterflies, birds, and so many of his insect friends are a very important part of what we now find ourselves discussing on a very regular basis. I think agriculturalists have known for quite some time pollinators provide a critical function in the production of food. And we understand their importance in ecosystem development as well. So as farms, yes, we do a lot of crop growing, nutrient management plans, and in part of that planning, farmers also look at the habitat in which they're working with and how they can help support it.
It's a balance because you have, I'm trying to remember the number, but I feel like there's a comma in there somewhere like 1,600 or so, thinking about applicators that are, they're going to go out and help farmers as much as possible be productive. And we're also talking about the importance of pollinators. So we understand that there's a balance in there.
Yeah, there's crop protection products. And, of course, insects can cause damage to the desirable crops that we grow for food. Controlling them through integrated pest management is very, very important. Integrated pest management involves some loss. It's not just about going out and doing complete protection all the time. So that's what the type of framework we've been operating in for quite some time is looking at economic thresholds for damage, making sure that you have management plans thought through. And what we're doing today is touting those practices, both from inside agriculture and as an educational opportunity for those that are looking at agriculture. I think it's important that we're all on the same team. And right now, today, it's going to be Team Pollinator.
Well, especially in your case, dealing with multiple states as well. What could set a precedent in one state could make its way around, especially in something like the Corn Belt. So how we protect the pollinators and also protect the rights of the farmers in those fields are I assume they're equally important.
Coast to coast, we rely on pollinators. And, of course, in tree fruit production and some of the vegetable production, pollinators are critical. I mean, that's where you have honeybee hives that are transported around the country in certain locations to help increase those populations in a very localized fashion. What I think we're focused on today is the generalized population, certainly enhancing the opportunity for pollinators. And you're right, whether it's North America or other continents involved, but we're going to be focused today here in Illinois on Earth Day and doing some work here at the fairgrounds on pollinator plots.
By the way, I can see Sangamon Avenue from right here. So someone might say, well, what are they doing putting this, in town? For example, but hey, we're on the north edge of town, but you don't necessarily have to put this in the middle of a field or even the corner of a field to have some sort of impact.
No, you're exactly right. You can have impact in any locality. And we have examples of fuel stations for automobiles and vehicles. We have member companies, FS member companies, that have installed pollinator plots. They call them refueling stations. So we have the pollinator plot signage out, and people will have the look if they get out and walk around, because a lot of times you do, for keep maintaining alertness in your vehicles and minimize your distracted driving. You can take a look at the pollinator plots around our fueling stations and then get an idea of what it would look like and how you could grow one as well.
Well, that's part of it then, is because it's probably not grandiose, and it's probably not expensive either. So someone says, well, you know what, we have a little corner right here. Why don't we do this ourselves?
Well, we were just talking. Dandelions are the homeowners fear in most instances. But when it comes to pollination and bees, I think you'll see quite a few insects working the flowers of a dandelion. So that's one of the first ones we were just talking about here a moment ago. At the same time, though, you've got flowering trees. We've got flowers that are budding out and blooming right now. Needs to be food sources for pollinators year-round, and that's part what the mix is. The honeybee mix that we put in will have different stages of flowering throughout this growing season. So not just spring, but summer, late summer, and fall.
Here we are, we're talking about milkweeds. And, we have farmers here as well, the farmer leaders of these commodity organizations, and I think they twitch a little bit when they see these milkweeds. But in the right place, they can certainly be awfully helpful.
Well, milkweed's the habitat for the monarch butterfly, and of course, we want to make sure that they have, and I just said fueling stations earlier, but they do migration patterns. So it is important. It's important that we have habitat for the population of birds that migrate. We also now are looking at pollinator migration patterns, and then what we can do to help those along. So yes, milkweeds, as you pointed out, DeLoss, in areas that aren't competing for our field crops, that's very, very important. And in fact, you might see a milkweed or two in a field. That doesn't mean that you're going to have a control measure.
Right.
That a weed or two here and there is something that happens, but certainly too many of them can be problematic, and that's why we've got to focus on plots where we can manage pollination and pollinator habitat, and then make sure that we do our best in our fields as well.
Make a big difference, all done easily and voluntarily. That's one of the big words in there.
That's one of the important parts, and of course in agriculture we enjoy voluntary programs, and we're good at it. We're good at conservation under voluntary measures. We're certainly good at focusing our attention here and growing this. We're working with FFA chapters, 4-H clubs, and of course that's the future of agriculture, along with other individuals that are both listening here and that will be visiting the state fairgrounds, learning about pollinators, the habitat in which we can provide. The more of us that participate, the better off everything will be.
Thank you very much, Chuck.
Thank you, DeLoss.
Chuck Spencer at Growmark, special groundbreaking today for a new pollinator habitat on the Illinois State Fairgrounds. A great Earth Day celebration and a great day for it, as it turns out. More to come on a Monday, RFD Today.
More farm news and information ahead. Stay tuned for more RFD Today here on the Illinois Farm Bureau Radio Network.
Hi, this is Sabrina Hardy, RFD Business Manager. I want to thank you for listening to the RFD Radio Network, the #1 ag radio network in Illinois. Did you know RFD Radio Network's programming is being broadcast by Rita Frazier and DeLoss Yankee with a combined 50 years of broadcasting experience? Join us daily. If you have any questions, email me at chardy@ilfb.org.
Attention corn farmers. Your corn checkoff dollars are working with the U.S. Meat Export Federation to grow red meat export volumes. Because when we're exporting beef, we're also exporting corn. The beef industry consumes 28% of all corn fed to livestock, plus additional corn in the form of DDGs, a co-product of ethanol production. Now that's what we call working an angle. Your checkoff is working corn from all angles. Because of the Illinois Corn Marketing Board, your profitability is our bottom line. A message from the Illinois Corn Checkoff.
Hello, I'm Trooper Teal at the Illinois State Police. Since January 1st, 15 Illinois State Police officers have been hit as a result of failure to reduce speed and move over into the other lane. 2 of those officers sadly lost their lives. April is Distracted Driving Awareness Month. Be part of the solution. Put your phone down, focus on your drive, pay attention to the road, move over, slow down, just drive.
A message from the Illinois Farm Bureau and the Illinois State Police.
Farm, family, food. Those 3 words best describe Illinois Farm Bureau. Farm. For 100 years, Farm Bureau in Illinois has represented and served the men and women who make Illinois one of the top food-producing states. Family. At the heart of rural Illinois are traditional farm families who work together through Illinois Farm Bureau. And food. Farm Bureau families are proud to grow the healthy food they provide their families and yours. Farm, family, food. The heart of Farm Bureau in Illinois.
Warmer weather means a longer honeydew list. Your county Farm Bureau can help you stay on top of your project list and save you money along the way. A Farm Bureau membership offer includes discounts on equipment and supplies from Grainger, plus free shipping on all standard Grainger products. Browse thousands of items from landscaping equipment to power tools. Anything you need to get the job done, Grainger has it. Not a Farm Bureau member? Call us at 309-557-2689. Or visit Illinois Farm Bureau online and join today.
All ag.
All Illinois.
All now.
There are a lot of smartphone apps out there, but do they have what's important to us here in Illinois? The Farm Week Now app does, and it's always at your fingertips. All ag, all Illinois, and 24/7 where and when you need it for free. Go to your app or Play Store on your smartphone, hit search, type in Farm Week Now, that's one word, and download it today. Brought to you by Illinois Farm Bureau, where we're all about farm, family, and food. Welcome back. We're pleased to have in studio Kevin Simlow, Illinois Farm Bureau's Director of State Legislation. How are you, sir?
Pretty good.
So almost May. So just about a month to go. So it's time to, especially after the break, it's time to kick it into gear in Springfield.
Once they get back, they got 5 weeks scheduled.
5 weeks.
5 weeks.
What do you suppose will be on the top of that list?
Well, first thing on top of that list is going to be progressive tax.
I figured you'd say that. That's why I asked. So how soon do you think? I mean, how quickly will that sort of thing move?
Well, the Senate has got it in place that they can call it pretty much any time they want. When they left for spring break, they said when they come back next week, the first item and the biggest item they want to take up was the constitutional amendment on the progressive income tax.
Yeah. So maybe even by May 1 or right around May 1.
I would say probably right around
30th May.
Yep.
Yeah, right around May 1.
Yep.
Okay, so while there's still a week and folks are within the districts, what would you like from the membership?
Well, we're asking everyone to please call their state senator and ask them to vote no on Senate Joint Resolution Constitutional Amendment number 1, which has a progressive income tax authorization in it. We're putting together an easy way to do it. Individuals can just pick up the phone, dial a toll-free number, 888-200-3794. It's going to ask you to type in your zip code. You do that, and it's going to connect you with your state senator's district office automatically.
Oh, that's easy enough.
Easy peasy.
So I was wondering how you would actually get, if that would just be in a bank or not. So you put in your zip code, and away you go.
Yeah, we've come a little ways where you just call the state operator and ask them to transfer you. We've actually got a little more automated now.
Gotcha. Not good for the rotary dial, folks, but
no. I'm sure there's somebody out there's got one of those.
Right. Well, I grew up on rotary dial and a party line, so that was a big deal when the cordless came into the house. So just to remember, was minimum wage, was that House Bill 1?
Yes.
So this is Senate 1.
This is Senate Joint Resolution Constitutional Amendment. So it gets a little longer title, but it's number 1 also.
All right. What is it that has Illinois Farm Bureau's attention, among other things?
Well, it's got our attention is we have long stood that we believe that the flat tax is the better way to collect an income tax. The reason is that it's pretty simple. The more money you make, the more taxes you pay. But everyone's fair and knows what they're expecting. A graduated income tax gets away from that and targets certain income brackets, raising that on that, and the membership has always felt that's not the fairest way to do it.
Mm-hmm. The discussions and, assuming that these are the numbers that are to be put in place, shows 97%, or I believe the governor's talked about 97% or whatever that number is. Like most folks in Illinois would get a break or a discount. So I'm sure people would say, well, how can you be against something like that?
That's what the polling numbers are showing. About 67% of the voting populace support some type of progressive income tax. I think this plan is put together in such a way that in the immediate future, you're going to see a tax rate structure that has where only 3% of the taxpayers pay the higher rates, which generates, the governor thinks, around $3 billion. Now, simple enough is once you change the Constitution and allow for a progressive income tax, they can come back and change it at any time. So we know the state's broke. We know that they don't have enough money. We know that even with $3.4 billion, if that's what this rate structure would generate, the state's still short. So what's the next step? Do they come in and look at changing the brackets? Do they just change one bracket? Change them all? With a progressive income tax, you can target certain income sectors a lot easier and have a lot less political fallout.
Gotcha. So it's more than just this year. This is what, about 4 years, 6 years, 2 years, however many years.
Exactly. Once the Constitution is changed and allows this, the General Assembly can come in and change the law whenever they wish with a simple majority vote.
Wow. So what they're discussing now won't raise or lower taxes. This is all about getting on the ballot eventually.
Correct. The first step is you got to change the Illinois Constitution. And the language simply states, currently the Constitution says that we shall have a non-graduated income tax. They're going to take that out of the Constitution and say the state will have a tax on income. Doesn't say graduated, doesn't say non-graduated. It doesn't say what it is. It's just wide open for the General Assembly. So they could have multiple structures of different taxes on income under the changes in the Constitution. Now, we anticipate that when they come back next week for break, they're going to probably put out a piece of legislation to take the tax structure rates that the governor proposed during his budget address. They'll probably have a bill that goes along similar to that at the same time that has that, so there's a target that people can say, well, no, this is what we mean. So there's some detail with it so they can show the voters that this is what they're trying to talk about. But again, that'll be set by state law and can be changed by simple majority at a later date.
Since this is Constitution, what kind of vote do they need?
For the General Assembly, they need supermajority vote. So you need 36 affirmative votes in the Senate, and you'll need 71 on the House. Right now, the Democrats have 40 members in the Senate, and they have 74 in the House. So numerically, the governor's party is a supermajority in both chambers. There'll always be some folks that have some problems with this because their district. It'd probably be a little tighter vote in the House and the Senate, but we just need everyone to get out there and call and let their senators know this isn't a good idea.
Right. When you think about Farm Bureau, I certainly think about farmers, for one, but all then of the small businesses, many of which are family-owned, that would go along with those communities,
yes,
those areas, and so we're talking about all of those things.
Yes, all those things. I mean, once you go to a progressive tax, they can adjust those individual levels at any time they wish.
And so from a business standpoint,
personal standpoint,
not friendly either way.
In the end, if they get the rates high enough, because you're going to have to offset the shortfalls the state has, we could see some pretty significant increases in the progressive tax years down the road. It opens up that door.
What's the excitement about buying a brand new car when you pay full price for it? County Farm Bureau members have a reason to be excited. A Farm Bureau membership gives you 2 car purchase discounts. When members buy a new Ford vehicle, they receive $500 off their purchase. And with a purchase of a qualifying Lincoln vehicle, they receive $750 off. Everyone loves a good deal, and the money saved is worth the price of our annual membership. This is just one of our 300,000 plus discounts that are always changing to fit our members' needs. Not a Farm Bureau member? Visit Illinois Farm Bureau online and join today.
Are you preparing for planting season? We don't mean to be a pest, but here's a few things you need to know before you grow. The Illinois Department of Agriculture now requires special local needs labels, including new restrictions for the use of herbicide dicamba on top of soybeans in Illinois for the 2019 growing season. Did you know these additional restrictions go beyond federally approved labels? Remember, the label is the law. To find out more about these Illinois-specific labels, visit ilfb.org/label-aware.
Here's a commodity market update on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Rita Frazier. We are lower still in the corn, soybeans, and the wheat this hour. Nearby May corn down 1 3/4, 356 3/4. July down 2. December corn down 2, 384 1/4, and March down 2, 398 1/4. May soybeans in the nearby down 2 1/2. We're at 878. July down 2 1/2. September soybeans down 2 1/2. We're at 902 1/4. And the November down 2 3/4 at 910 3/4. To the wheat, nearby May down 7, 437 1/4. And December down 5 1/4. We're at 465 3/4. Bean meal for July down 6 cents. We're at 306.20.
Kevin Simlow at Illinois Farm Bureau, Director of State Legislation, with an action request on the state level. A lot of times when I talk action request, Adam Nielsen is in here,
yes,
but we do it on the state level as well.
Yes, we do it on the state level too.
Simple as just calling the toll-free number.
We've got those of that have signed up for the FB Act. They'll get a text message, and that's even easier. But for those that don't have that option, we'll just have the toll-free number. They can call in 888-200-3794.
There's the budget, and then there's also the backlog, right?
Yes, correct.
I mean, at some point, how are we going to pay the backlog? And I assume the income tax could, especially depending on constitutional change, How are we ever going to get to that backlog?
It's big because you've got the unpaid bill backlog. You've got the pension obligations that the state owes that keeps going up every year. They're already talking about this next budget cycle of not paying the full pension payment that's required by law. So you shortfall the pensions again. That just kicks the can down farther down the road. So all these things just keep going on out there. It's going to take a significant revenue increase or significant cuts or a mix thereof. And right now the General Assembly has shown it's not really looked at new cuts. They made cuts many years ago, some small ones, but right now it seems to be that revenue enhancements, tax increases is kind of the way they're looking.
Is everything on the table? Has there been, what kind of discussions have there been so far about what's on the table and how much do we do in a, certain period of time?
The governor has pretty much made his cornerstone of his budget bailout program to be around a progressive income tax. He thinks that's the fair way to do it. There were some discussions early on about possibly expanding the sales tax on the services, but we haven't seen anything about that. There hasn't been much appetite for that. Sales taxes come and go because of the economy, and they go up and down. It's a stable revenue source, but it fluctuates a lot, not as stable as what the income tax has shown in the past. So right now it seems like everything's focused on a progressive income tax.
Well, and like you said, 5 weeks.
5 weeks?
Starting next week. So
yeah.
We'll really, you've been through this many times, but this is when it really
it'll get
turn off the gas.
Yeah, it's a perfect storm coming at us. You've got this progressive income tax issue. They're talking about legalizing recreational use of marijuana. You've got a capital plan that's still out there. So you've got road projects, motor fuel tax increases. How are you going to come up with funds for vertical construction, schools and university buildings and libraries and stuff like that? You've got gaming for sports betting. Mm-hmm. That's an issue that's out there. Then you've just got the regular bills that are floating around. There's a couple hundred of those still floating around the General Assembly. Oh, and there's a little thing called the state budget that has to be approved. So they got 5 weeks to get all that done.
Wow. That's a heavy lift.
It's going to be a heavy lift.
It's a heavy lift in 5 months, let alone 5 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, with the notion of the motor fuel tax, mm-hmm. and, some bills, they're written and they may morph over time after they've been written. What about, say, for the motor fuel tax? There are a couple in particular. How solid are those? There's
been 2 proposals put out there, but they were just to start discussions from 2 different opposing camps. One would raise the motor fuel tax and some license fees would generate about $2 billion. That one would jump the motor fuel tax from 19 cents to 38 cents pretty much immediately. You've got another proposal out there that's got another approach. It would ramp it up to 44 cents. But with that, they're going to repeal the sales tax on motor fuel, because right now we pay sales taxes on the motor fuel, plus the tax portion also. We pay on the motor fuel tax. They phased that out, but that makes a whole... So these were just some ideas that were thrown out. This will be one of those end-of-session, what can they pass type bills. It's not critical that they pass a capital bill, other than the fact that we got crumbling roads and bridges. Right. But even if they were to put one in place, they probably can't really do much with this year's construction programs because we're pretty much past that window.
Right. Cones are on their way out.
Cones are already out. Yeah. To get the money to put those cones up, you got to start about 9 months before. So there'll be a bond issuance and getting the bids out. So we're probably talking next summer before you really see a huge impact if they do a motor fuel tax. Yeah. So they have a window that they could push it off to a veto session, but we'll see what happens here in these next 5 weeks.
Is there just alone? I mean, I know if you explain it makes a little more sense. But is there anything that when you say 44 cents, there could be some sticker shock to that?
There should be some sticker shock.
Am I going to be able to hear the rest of it after I hear 44 cents?
Yeah, and that's the big thing. And right now we think that's probably on the lower end of what they're looking at. Wow. It could even be a little higher than that. There was a study done that showed that since the motor fuel tax has been increased almost 30 years ago, it hasn't been adjusted for inflation. So going from 19 to 38 cents, just adjusted for that same 30 windows for inflation. So you're not getting a lot of new projects. You're just being able to do what you were supposed to do that you should have been doing all along. Yeah. So that's one philosophy. It's going to be a big sticker shock for everybody.
Yeah. The old policy at Farm Bureau was 10 cents. Now it's a moderate increase. And whether or not
Right.
That's moderate.
Right.
That's
and the Farm Bureau Board of Directors are looking at this. We've been tracking it. And when they kind of see a final package come together, they'll take their position then.
Okay, back to the action request. So it's Senate this week.
Senate this week.
And then
in a couple weeks, in a week or so, we'll probably, when it shifts over to the House, we'll do another action request to then have everyone call their state representative. So this first one will be just on our state senators. And just give a call to that 888-200-3794 number, and we'll patch you through.
All right. Kevin, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate the update for sure. Here in just a couple minutes, we'll focus in on the markets, but just a couple of other headlines for you this morning. The Army Corps caught some heat from lawmakers and several witnesses at a field hearing held in Glenwood, Iowa last week. That hearing was called because of concerns over how the Corps manages floodwaters along the Missouri River. Iowa Republican Senator Joni Ernst, who chairs the Environment and Public Works Committee, convened the hearing a month after floodwaters hit states like Iowa, Nebraska, and several surrounding states hard. Repeated complaints at the hearing centered on concerns that other priorities dominated the Corps' management plans for the Missouri River. A DTN report says Major General Scott Spellman of the Army Corps of Engineers said the number one priority of the Corps in its operations is life and public safety. Iowa farmer Leo Edelman says changes in 2004 to how the Corps manages the Missouri River have actually caused more flooding. Part of the 2004 changes included the Missouri River Recovery Plan, which is meant to help recovery habitat for endangered fish and birds. During the hearing, Ernst said she believes the Corps puts too much emphasis on environmental protections over protecting the lives of property and people. Stories that we'll be following in the week ahead. Also, if you are looking to sell it fast, you might want to consider Farm Week's classified ads. Call toll-free 800-573-6120, Monday through Tuesday, 8:30 to 4, Wednesday, 8:30 to 10, or submit online at farmweeknow.com. Here, ready for the following segment. The next segment for RFD today is Dale Dirkholtz, Agrivisor Services, who had a complete day off on Friday because of Good Friday and now is raring to go and report on, actually he's going to tell us exactly why the markets are lower today.
To begin with, I didn't have a day off on Friday.
That's right. We did see you, didn't we?
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, we
see
did.
me.
We did. Hey, we'll get into a conversation with Dale Dirkholtz when we come back. This is RFD Today. Here's your livestock summary on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Rita Frazier. News in the industry from last week is the Chinese purchase of U.S. pork. Buyers there have greatly picked up their purchases of pork from the U.S. in the past couple of weeks to replace dwindling domestic supplies due to African swine fever. Chinese buyers purchased 101,000 tons of pork the past 2 weeks. 77,000 tons purchased the week prior. That's a record since USDA started reporting pork exports in 2013. Let's look at the cash market from last Thursday here in Illinois. Cash hogs $48 to $56. No market on Friday for Good Friday. And in the cattle market midweek in Greenville, 923 head of cattle went through. On the choice steers, 116 to 136, and choice heifers, 115 to a top of 134. How do people benefit from raising livestock here in Illinois? Rich Giebert, Illinois farmer, president of the Illinois Farm Bureau.
Well, growing up on a livestock farm was always interesting, and I enjoy it more today than I did back then. But it did give me the opportunity to have a good work ethic, learn to get up in the morning. And you know, that was difficult during my senior days at high school and college days. I had a tendency not to go to bed at a respectable hour. But no, it was always enjoyable on the farm and getting up before daybreak and milking the cows and getting the chores done and then go about the rest of the day's business.
Illinois Farm Bureau, along with beef, corn, milk, pork, and soybean associations, make up the Livestock Development Group, supporting the Illinois livestock sector. For more information, check out IllinoisLivestock.org. Hey, we are back on RFD today in studio with Dale Dirkholz, senior analyst at AgriVisor Services. How long have you been at this, boy?
I'm just old.
What are your thoughts as we start this week?
Well, the big thing that the trade's playing with here this morning is really whether there isn't any other news for them to really work with of major note at this particular juncture. It looks like the weather this week's probably going to be, at least in Illinois and points east, a little bit better than what the forecast we had when we went home on Friday. We're still going to get some showers, but they're not as widespread, don't look quite as heavy. So, overall, weather's going to be seen as a bit of a negative. They'll look at the crop ratings this afternoon. I've seen 5% on corn planting, 2% on bean planting, up just a little bit from last week on corn and beans. It'll be the first number we've had there, and it says just started. I really doubt the bean planting number, though. That seems a bit, quote-unquote, rich to me. Last but not least, it's going to be any talk we may or may not have surrounding the China trade talks, because we know they're going to meet next week, and then they're going to have a return visit here the first week of May, but everybody seems to be of the attitude that we're going to have a deal signed by Memorial Day.
Crossing our fingers, but is the China trade talks plus the weather preventing farmers from selling and marketing properly? Are we where you think they should be, or are we just holding on, wanting that news before we do anything crazy?
Well, I think it's hard. I've still got a lot of timing stuff that says we ought to have a bottom here. So, I'm really reluctant to pitch anything out at the moment unless I absolutely have to. I think people are getting a little too negative. Funds are already record short corn, record short wheat. So, you question, do they have a lot more ammunition? Probably not. So that move will slow down. Meanwhile, if you get anything that does flip it, let's say the weather forecasts that we get this week for next week turn wet again, you get any rally, any bounce, and all of a sudden you get into a lot of fun stuff that can trigger a pretty sharp little rally here. So I think you probably wait on those to make any sales.
What other big picture items are you watching this week, outside markets, etc.?
Well, the other thing that's kind of going on, it's getting some attention, it's getting a little bit old. Kind of keep an eye on the hog market. Africa, there's still this constant rotating talk about African swine flu in China and how much it's impacted their hog herd, and got all sorts of hopes, thoughts, ideas about what we're going to see as far as maybe pork business with China, maybe even other meat business, but the rest of the world looks at that too. I just don't have any confidence in the numbers out of China. I don't know how bad it is. It could be worse than what people say. It could be not as bad as what people say. I just don't have a clue, and I don't think they do, and that's what makes this really so hard, so difficult to work with. I kind of look at what's going on with pork right now, kind of like back in the 1970s when we had droughts in Russia. You really weren't certain what was happening. You had no idea. You had guesses, but that was really about it. But here, in this circumstance, we don't have any clue as to what's happening, what's going on. So I think, that's really critical. The other thing is going to be these trade talks, whether they get wrapped up or not. And I think there's got to be a lot of pressure on our administration to get this thing done and sealed and signed, because farmers are getting kind of disgruntled about this whole deal. And back to the pork issue, talking to a couple of Illinois producers last week, we often talk about the importance of the livestock industry to the grain market. Pigs eat a lot of corn and soybeans. We're successful in keeping foreign animal diseases out, in particular foot and mouth and African swine fever. But if we would get it, huge. Oh, it is. It's a huge problem because there's no vaccine for it at this point, and I think some of the rest of the people in the world, you still question the motives behind that shipment they found. It's been about 3 weeks ago now. They were trying to move into the U.S., buried within some other goods. It's kind of like the rest of the world would probably like the U.S. to get it, simply because it would cut our ability to compete with them off of the legs. It'd give them a leg up. It would have some real negative repercussions here, because how much, and depending on how you control it, how much do you impact the size of the hog herd and then the feed demand base with it itself. So, it's a real critical issue. There's no doubt about it.
So about a minute left here, Dale. Our take-home, you mentioned the USDA numbers, our weekly crop reports out this afternoon. Anything else you'll leave us with today? Well, USDA is having a meeting tomorrow, data users meeting. It's going to be interesting to see what comes out of that. It's in Chicago. It's tomorrow afternoon. The other thing that's coming up in here, people need to keep in the back of their mind, USDA is retinkering their world S&D numbers. So the world S&D estimates that you see come May will be different than what we've seen before. They're finally bringing them up to where we are today. And before we leave, I'm going to take a picture of you, because for our listeners at home, they don't see your very spring festive look today. Like my wife said, all I need is an Easter bonnet. I will take a picture. We'll put it up on Twitter later today. Thanks, Dale Dirkholz, Agrivisor Services, and thank you for being a part of this program. This is RFD Today. For DeLoss Yonke, I'm Rita Frazier. More farm news and information ahead. Stay tuned for more RFD Today here on the Illinois Farm Bureau Radio Network.